Okay.
Okay, what's up?
Steven,
Hi.
how am I on my misogyny arc?
I don't remember. I just saw clips too, and it seemed like it seemed pretty worrying.
I think I recall some statements about how if you want to have sex, you have to be like a piece of shit, and that you'll have more access to sex. And you
Yeah,
believe
so
that's true?
it's about that there is easier and harder ways for young men to be able to have sex, and unfortunately, it seems like one of the easier, more accessible ways is for men to be pushy, to be intrusive, and to manipulate. And I'm not talking. A big critique that I got was that people kept thinking that what I was saying is that women want bad boys, and it's not true. I think that's old tech. I think the new tech for being a piece of shit to women is acting like you really like them a lot when you don't care at all about them, and then
That's
like
wait,
love bomb
I'd
them.
agree with that.
wait. Well, hold on.
Yeah.
That's the oldest tech of all mankind. That's called being a fuckboy, right?
Well, is it? I
Yes.
feel like a lot of fuckboys will. Well, okay, I don't know, but you know what I'm talking about. It's different tech, right? You can treat women. You can act like you're treating women really well, but actually treat them really poorly, and it's just manipulative to do that. Is what I'm saying. There's different
Hmm.
ways to be like a piece of shit to women and be very successful with women, and I think it's harder for somebody to get those kinds of results while also being good, but we should teach them how to do it.
Question: what sort of like demographic, like what young person are you talking to? Like what age
I'm
bracket?
Would I be talking to what I hope I'm talking to, or I am talking to?
Uh, both.
Okay, I think I probably am talking to men in their late 20s, mid 20s, who are probably pretty well established um, in most of their lives. Who I want to talk to is primarily young boys who are in high school, who are young men who are in college, who are struggling to be able to. Pretty much Fresh and Fit's audience is who I want to talk to.
Hmm.
I guess one of the confusing things is when you say like, "Oh, this is how you have to act to like fuck women." Like that's. I mean, like, you can
I
fuck
don't.
women without acting like that, but like it's almost like if you want to make money, like the best way to do it is to be like a scammer or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, duh.
Yeah, yeah. That's supposed to. Well, the reason why I bring that up is because there's going to be people, and I find these people do this often. Is they will go to, in the example, being a scammer, and then they'll find that it's at great success rather than being a genuinely good person who isn't manipulative and stuff like that, and how much work that does take to be able to do that because it's not as clear cut of a path, and there isn't as many people doing PUA whatever stuff telling you how to do it. Because it's harder, or I guess because this being the scammer is easier, they think that it's the right way to do it, the only way to do it, or a better way to do it.
Okay. I also think
And
that
so
like you
it's,
might get results in terms of fucking people, but you're not going to form any good relationships.
I believe I said that in the conversation. You're not going to be successful in long-term or even short-term relationships. They're going to be incredibly incendiary.
Sure.
But for a lot of these young men, I truly think they just want to be able to get consistent sex or even short-term relationships for the clout. I think that's what they want.
That seems kind of toxic now.
Yeah, correct. And I want to tell that shit ain't all it's cracked up to be able to do that.
True.
Like
But
what's
you can
really
get clout from sex?
Oh yeah,
Men
as
do.
a man? Hell yeah.
Not
Hell
women.
yeah.
For women, it's negative
Yeah.
clout.
No, but
Correct.
who's knowing that you're fucking?
Everybody that you
Like if
decide
you're a
to
high
blabber
school
it
boy,
to.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
status by not being a virgin.
Yeah, well, not even also not being a virgin, just having a lot of sex with a lot of different people. There's a lot.
Women are the ultimate validating tool for men.
Exactly.
No, but do you like tell people after each person?
People do,
Well, you
yeah, of
could-
course.
You go
Yeah.
back to the boys, you're like, all right, one more down.
It's. Are you talking about? Do like my friends tell me? Is that what you're? Or
All of you
have
guys,
they?
because it seems like you're all on board with this. Like, yeah, I get clout from sex.
It's so like here's a good example. One of my friends showed me his Tinder, and he had over 150 women that he was talking to at a given time, and every single guy that he shows is incredibly impressed. Like I can't believe it or whatever, because it's kind of like that's unheard.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah, I agree with you. I promise, I agree with you. Right? That sounds insane, but it's like this guy is in a different league.
Yeah,
Right, to
is he
even
in
be
the
able to
league
do
of
that.
using the chat AI bot? Like, who's talking to these women? Not him.
I know, right? He's like the
OnlyFans
people
girls,
who-
but they're
yeah,
paying
the
people to do
OnlyFans
things,
girls
so.
who get the exactly. But yeah, there's a lot of like clout to be gained there with that for sure. So yeah,
Okay.
I want to talk to that audience of people and get to them to be able to do it. I got a lot of feedback on that debate I had with that person about what I said, why what I said was wrong, ways I can say things a little bit better. But every person that I talked to one-on-one seemed to think that, like, yeah, what I said was primarily rhetorically not well put and left way too much to the imagination. I didn't explain it well enough or whatever, but the core points seemed to be agreed upon.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched the whole thing. That's why I never gave like strong judgments at the time. I just heard a couple clips out. I was like, eh. Seemed a little spooky. Seemed a little misogynistic, but I don't know. And then I keep hearing everybody saying that like Irrelevant is on his incel arc, and then I keep getting linked to these random clips. So yeah, maybe. But maybe it's not bad. But
So
I never watched the full
just to be
combo.
clear, I absolutely am on an incel arc, but it's not a arc. I'm on an incel arc because I admitted that earlier in my life I was an incel. I was an incel primarily because I couldn't. I think I have a lot in common with these men that are looking through the fresh and fit and looking to these people, because earlier in my life I felt like no woman was ever attracted to me, but I just lacked the social perception. There's actually several women who were into me. I just couldn't perceive that they were into me. Because it just wasn't something that I was easily capable of doing, yada yada. I thought it was because I didn't look very attractive, and then I also thought it was because I lacked social skills. And where we're at right now, I think it is because I lack social skills. I don't think it's because I'm not attractive enough to be able to do it. I think I meet plenty of women's looks minimums. It's just I lack the charisma to be able to close, as it was, to be able to get in a relationship. And so I think going through that process on stream and documenting it to people and talking with people about it, people who are better at talking to other people like you, Steven, who are better at talking to individuals, I would say, at least of what I've seen, in an ethical manner, and how to get...
Hold on. Steven talking to people and Steven relationship advice is like very different. He does some weird shit.
No, everything I do is not weird, you fucking moron.
Give me the weird stuff, Fortha.
Yeah, he's weird.
So, for instance,
we got two people. Go for it.
There is you'd spoke. What was that woman's name? Your female clone?
Ayla or whatever.
Yeah. Her talking about how you don't do any of that like verbal validation kind of stuff when Mel's like, "Hey, how do I look?" and you're like, "You look like shit."
I don't say you look like shit. Damn. I wouldn't say that.
I'm using shorthand. You understand what I mean.
No, hold on. Wait. What Ayla was talking about for verbal validation didn't have to do with compliments. It had to do with there's a phenomenon that some people will talk about some things, but they're not really looking for feedback. They're not trying to solicit an opinion. And they don't even really care if you're listening. They're looking for some sort of reassurance that they're the right thing. So somebody might come up and say like, fuck, like my mom was such an asshole today, and it's like, it's so exhausting like talking to her. And if somebody told me some shit like that, if it was somebody close to me, I'd probably like, yeah, that sucks. But what they're really looking for me to say is like, oh my God, like that must be like so horrible. Like, I'm sure it's not your fault. Like, I mean, you try your best with your mom. Like, that's what people are looking for. I think that was the type of like verbal reassurance that she was talking about. That a lot of people do that type of like social assurance seeking. And I don't like to assuage it. It's just annoying. I'll do it if it's a girl I'm trying to fuck. But like, if it's somebody that I know personally and I have a long-term relationship with, I'm not. If I get into the business of that, it's gonna drive me fucking crazy.
You understand how that's like very outside the norm.
Yeah, but I would say that, of course. I mean, I'm giving you this answer. Like, this is what you're supposed to say. Yeah, this is what people are looking for. There's a lot of stuff I do that's like outside the norm, of course. Yeah, but I say that all the time, but everybody ignores me when I say it. But yeah.
That's why I just don't think you should be like a particular, I guess, guide stone for how to have a relationship.
But every piece of advice I give is rock solid.
I know.
I'm giving you better advice you're gonna find anywhere on the fucking internet on any of these fucking topics.
But it's not what contributes to your success. Like, you call me in DMs. This is what you would.
That is not true. That is not true. That is not true. Okay. Number one. Okay. Number two. If you want a genuine thing for copying what works for me, but the problem is that when I start to talk about that, I'm giving advice for normal people in normal relationships. If you're an exceptional person, then there's gonna be different things. If like a celebrity or like a doctor or somebody that has like huge areas in their life that are massively beneficial, then yeah, the advice to that person can look different. But these people don't need advice typically. Everything that I give is usually like bog standard. Like if you're trying to succeed in relationships or blah blah blah, like this is probably what you want to do. And almost nothing I say is controversial. Most of it is just like boilerplate. Like this is like the way to approach like relationships conversations. But I never recommend like people trying to emulate like my lifestyle or who I am or anything like that.
So when I spoke specifically about how you went about it, what I was referring to is it seems like our lifestyles
Mm-hmm.
kind of overlap to a decent degree. You are a degenerate and play video games at a similar rate that I do.
Base.
And so there's clearly some kind of overlap in interests. There, you've clearly found a way to present yourself as an interesting enough person for women to and men. There's my problems extend beyond women. It's abilities to make friends with people who I don't immediately know all of their interests, and we have overlapping interests. Clearly, you found ways to be able to develop friendships and relationships effectively, given your degenerate nature.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or despite my degenerate nature, yeah.
yes,
The
correct.
reality
And
is that
so
for a lot of these conversations, it super fucking sucks. And this is like a little bit black pilling, but I honestly believe that a lot of the practice for this happens in grade school and high school and maybe college.
yes,
Yeah, but once you're out of those environments, holy fuck, is it hard to do? Because like high school, grade school, and
Exactly.
college are amazing because people are forced to be around you. Even if you're awkward, people are forced. So you're going to get training. And on all of these things, it's a matter of training. And if
Yes.
if you can't practice it, like, damn, that's rough. Yeah.
So that's where I'm at, right? When I was 15 years old, I stopped going to high school, right? And I stopped getting practice. I never really had very much practice. And I recognized at about 18 that this problem would happen, that it would be difficult to be able to practice and do that or whatever. But I wasn't a lonely person. I didn't care that much about it. The only reason why I care about it now is because I see so many other different people who are having a similar problem. And I'm kind of like, okay, so there's people in a similar sphere as me that might not have understood like the kind of consequences later down the line of isolating yourself socially. So I think it would be kind of fun and entertaining and potentially helpful to people to have somebody that is similar to them who has socially isolated since they were 15 years old. I'm 25 now, right? To be able to document the process of me trying to build those social skills and rebuild it and go out there and get that done. And I think a part of that is being around people who are, for lack of a better term, normal socially, and trying to get guidance. Okay, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing right? Like, was that weird? With a good example is when I go out with some of my friends, like half the time they'll be like, dude, you look really angry. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right? And then they'll be like, oh, I don't know, you're always scowling. Okay, and I have to like fucking readjust my eyebrows and shit to make it look like I'm not scowling at everybody. And it's just having people around me to be able to guide me through to try and like seem normal, people that I trust to be like reliable or whatever. It's kind of a part of that process. And yeah, it's just I find satisfaction out of documenting it for other people.
So it's not the incel arc; it's your incel retrieval arc.
I call it the incel arc because it's all about incels. But yes, you're correct.
Okay.
It's like bringing myself back because I didn't have a similar relationship with like the validation of other people. I feel like as many other people because I wasn't lonely. I haven't been lonely since I was 15. And so it's very difficult for me to like put myself in the shoes of somebody that desperately wants to have friends or validation from women to kind of get in that. But I feel like I can empathize with it because I was that way when I was like 13 and 14. I very much wanted women to like me. But yeah, it's just I think my process of redemption is going to be similar to most people, which is putting yourself out there, getting those experiences. Yeah, so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm talking in the way I do.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a couple of things that I guess I wanted to talk about now that I have the presence of you, Stephen.
Wait, can you give me a minute? Hold that thought. I'll be back, and then we can go
course.
into whatever you want to do. Hold on, I'll be back.
So has anybody else heard anything? Like, I'm not going to shit on you if you legitimately think like I'm an incel or a misogynist. I just don't. I don't think very many people care about what I say or even know what I say. But if you have anything, now's the time.
Mine's gonna be biased because I know you're not a misogynist. You've always treated me fair and equal to like any other dude in the space, and like super kind, super charitable. And I didn't even know that you were incel because I think when I first started watching you, you consider yourself volcel.
Yeah. So right now, I would say I kind of am Volcel. I will admit that I'm far more I'm far closer to being an incel than I thought I was. I thought like as soon as I tried, if I wanted to try to get in a relationship, I thought it wouldn't be that hard. It was actually quite a bit harder than I thought.
Can you go into that
Um,
into more depth? Like, what's your dating life like over the past like 3 months?
I haven't really been able to even get to a dating life point. I just don't. Most people find me boring.
What does
That
that
is my
What does that
problem.
mean? Like you're texting, like, and they're just not interested, or
Yeah.
what's going on?
So, for an example, I've gone to the bars and hung out with some people. I've gone on dating apps and messaged some people, and most of the time, it just ends in like very short periods of time.
Hmm.
Do you find yourself lacking things to say?
Yeah, that's my problem. I have no
Do
idea what the
you
fuck to say.
do you generally like get gauge of what the other person is interested in?
I try, yeah. The problem is what they tend to be interested in is things that I either have very little interest in or I generally despise.
Can you give me an example?
Traveling.
OMG, I love to the traveling chick. Oh, I see it so much. Irrelevant. I know exactly what the fuck
Yeah.
you're talking about, dude. Oh man. Um,
Like a like a normal somebody like Steven, who I actually think Steven likes traveling. I'm not sure though. But nonetheless, somebody like that I can get guidance from who actually might be maybe even forethought here now that you share a similar thing. A normal person should be able to go like, I don't like this, but I'm able to like give some questions, show some interest, like, maybe, get to know their relationship with traveling and stuff like that. I just find that to be very hard.
yeah,
I
sure.
haven't my entire life I've been surrounded by people with very specific similar interests. Dota 2, Tarkov, XCOM and things like that. And if you don't like those games, I'm not talking to you, right?
Hmm.
Like in that's or on in the case of streaming, racism, the election or whatever, very
Based.
specific interests that we can go back and forth about. I am very much not
You're
used to.
interested in
Yes, I'm
Hell
very interested.
yeah.
So I think I don't know if you like this would actually be interesting and like be rewarding for you, but in these types of conversations, I also hate traveling, but I have like a deep interest in like the personal experiences of people in different communities. So I try to link those two together, and I'll say like, when you go to Japan, like, what are the people like, and how do you think that is different from how we are here, and like, how do you think that advantages and disadvantages? I think you can get into a pretty deep conversation there. That's interesting to both people.
Hmm.
I agree with you. I
Oh,
think that you go ahead.
I was just gonna say because you said you think that Steven likes traveling. I think he does too, but I think that's like he's really into trains, but I think that's like the opposite.
So I've been like getting back into dating for the past like 3 months, and I've had a pretty opposite experience. But I know exactly of what you're talking about. Like the chick that's super into travel, and that's all she does and all she talks about. Holy fuck, that was a nightmare. Um, Oddly enough, if you want to get some Rizz tips from a literal Reddit janitor, I'm open to it. I'd love to go over some of your logs. I'm so curious what that looks like.
Okay. Yeah, I do that. The whole thing for me is just that I need people who are more socially well adjusted to be able to give me information on what I'm doing wrong and what I can improve on, and then hopefully I can give that to the other people who might be in a similar position to me that might have trouble. Like when it comes to conversations about like of a deeper nature, like more intimate conversations or whatever, I do well. I thrive under those conditions. The problem is getting to the point of like, my Discord, not yours. Like, hey, what are you doing? Like, how are you? Like, what do you do? Right? The base, like the small talk, getting
Hmm.
the small talk into the big talk is impossible. It's just
Man,
not
that's so
possible for
weird.
me.
I've had an opposite experience where like on a second date, like someone's talking about whether or not I'm interested in starting a family. Uh, I don't know. I'm just so interested to see what your logs are, because it feels
Yeah.
like for me, uh, deep conversations come up way faster than I'm comfortable.
That's insane. You want to swap? I don't know what it is about your profiles, but I need them, bro. I need a copy of your profile. I need it. I need it. That's so much better and easier for me to be able to do that
I
than
don't know if it's just luck of the draw or something, but fuck, dude, I don't know. I also come off super strong on apps, like all
Wait,
out, or
are
I
you
just
both pulling from on apps or?
I'm just doing
I
on apps.
I do. I try and just talk to people because again, my this problem that I'm talking about with small talk applies to men and women. So I'm just talking to people. broadly, and I'm trying to
Oh,
get
okay.
better at like small talk.
I don't normally like go out to like pick up chicks. It just seems like like you give off that vibe. Like it's very obvious and it's super cringe. I hate doing it, so I just go out to have a good time usually.
Yeah, that's another problem for me. Everything that I do that is a good time, there's like no women involved because it's all video games, and it's
It's
all
all
like
video
very
games.
specific. Yeah, it's like I've been playing Escape from Tarkov with my all of my free time.
Hmm.
I don't like any hobby that I generally like doing is like 99% male dominated.
Okay, so like there's some nerd stuff that's like nerd adjacent that has a much higher like female population in my experience. Like board games, surprising
True.
amount of women involved.
I
That's
don't.
cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just don't like playing board games with random people.
Well, yeah, eventually, like you go there, you meet some people, and you see some people you like, you become friends. Congratulations, you now have friends, and then from there you branch out,
Well,
What are we talking about now?
we're just
becoming normal humans.
Oh,
yeah
boring.
talking about being normal people.